Welcome to this deep dive into the global audio scene. Today, we're focusing on how traditional radio, both public service broadcasters, PSBs, and commercial stations are adapting and, investing in the world of podcasts, audio series, and content that lives across multiple platforms. We'll be especially tuning in to their strategies for staying competitive on those, increasingly important smart speakers and in our connected cars.
Exactly. And for those of you listening today, whether you're a tech whiz or curious, our aim is to pull out the most important and fascinating nuggets from our research. Think of this as a quick way to get up to speed on a really dynamic area.
Absolutely. So our mission is clear: to understand how traditional radio is evolving to meet modern listening habits and all these technological shifts. But it's not just about the new and shiny. We'll also be exploring the surprising and continuing relevance of some older radio technologies in our modern world.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
Let's begin by recognizing the surge in audio consumption in general. We're seeing a real boom in digital audio offerings, from streaming services to podcasts, and voice-activated devices they're everywhere. What's fascinating is that this renewed interest in audio, while often driven by younger listeners, has implications for how everyone engages sound.
Yeah. It's easy to assume radio might be fading into the background, but our source reminds us of its persistent strength. Take Italy, for example. A truly remarkable 34.5 million people still tune in every single day for an average of over 3.5 hours. That really speaks to its enduring.
It does. However, the source also points to a long-term trend of declining radio listening, particularly among the 14 to 44-year-old demographic. This serves as a significant wake-up call, underscoring the critical need for radio to innovate in how it reaches audiences and the types of audio experience it provides.
Right. So it's a clear message that PSBs need to invest in these newer formats, podcasts, on-demand shows, the whole spectrum, to ensure that vital diversity, creativity, and, cultural representation continue to thrive in the audio space. We've seen substantial growth in podcast and audiobook consumption across Europe, highlighting a real shift in how people choose to be entertained and informed through audio.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, audio consumption is becoming increasingly fragmented, varying considerably across different age groups. This isn't a stable environment, constantly changing. Therefore, broadcasters need to adopt a sort of holistic strategy. They face a dual challenge: competing with music streaming platforms for our music listening time, and going head-to-head with the expanding podcast market for our attention when it comes to spoken word content.
Okay, so how are radio stations actually navigating this digital? Our source indicates that stations in both Europe and North America are showing real creativity and gives us glimpses into some of their original ideas and even successes.
What's fascinating to observe are the key drivers fueling this ongoing innovation. The study suggests that some of these trends are currently more advanced in North America, offering a potential preview of what Europe might see more of soon. We're witnessing a real evolution from what's termed Radio 1.0, that traditional, often passive listening experience. Now we're progressing towards Radio 2.0, where listening is less passive, more driven by the listener, with options like live streaming, podcasts, and those convenient catch-up segments of broadcast shows. Think of BBC Sounds allowing you to listen back to a show you missed. That's a good example of Radio 2.0.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? There's even mention of Radio 3.0. What exactly does that entail?
This concept envisions a much more personalized and customizable audio experience, really leveraging digital technology to tailor content individual taste. Imagine an audio stream that automatically adjusts the news based on your interests and mixes in music you love, kind of the direction of radio. Now, the source also touches on something called radio, this integration of radio and television. Italy and Belgium are cited as having some initial
radio vision. Yeah, it sounds like Italy has been a real pioneer with this idea, and they also have sophisticated initiatives like United Music. Plus, the source highlights how deeply radio is ingrained locally in Italy. Its reach remains incredibly strong compared to TV and other media. But it seems this integration of radio and TV hasn't been universally successful, has it? France, for instance, apparently saw less compelling.
That's a crucial observation. What resonates within one cultural context doesn't necessarily translate seamlessly to another. Now, looking at advancements in sound technology itself, companies like Apple and Sony are really pushing the boundaries with spatialized and immersive sound reproduction. This raises an important question for you as a listener. How will this impact the way audio programming creates the future? It opens up exciting new possibilities for storytelling.
It really does.
Yeah.
And with all this digital engagement, audience measurement must be undergoing significant changes. Traditional methods like those HEPA surveys, are they still providing an accurate picture? For those unfamiliar, CKT stands for a computer-assisted telephone interview.
Well, the experts consulted for the study largely agree that there's a growing demand for more effective and detailed audience measurement methodology. Data is becoming increasingly vital in today's media. What's fascinating is that broadcasters themselves are now generating their own data through their apps and social media platforms, creating a valuable new form of economic capital by directly understanding their audience. This data allows them to understand what kind of listeners they have and offer more tailored content or even targeted advertising in their app, making those platforms platforms more attractive to advertisers.
Right. So instead of solely relying on those older survey techniques, they're getting real-time insights directly from their listeners. That makes perfect sense. And it sounds like PSBs in Europe and Canada are also making significant investments in their own on-demand listening platforms and building dedicated podcast production teams with a diverse range of skills.
Exactly. They recognize the need to control their own digital presence and connect directly with their audience. But this also brings us to a significant challenge: the influence of major digital players, the GAFA companies, Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. These platforms often act as intermediaries and, in many ways, shape how information is discovered and consumed.
Right. They're like the gatekeepers of the digital world. So how are radio organizations navigating?
Well, the source emphasizes the critical need for radio organizations to truly understand how these platforms function. They need to recruit professionals with strong digital skills, expertise in data analysis, and a deep understanding of these evolving content patterns. We're increasingly living in a world shaped by these power platforms.
That's often referred to as the platforming of the world economy, isn't it? And these major digital players, with their immense financial resources, really dominate the media entertainment market.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is the growing role of algorithms and artificial intelligence in guiding our content choice, often in ways we're not even aware of. Virtual assistants are also becoming increasingly important in bridging the technology gap for many.
And it's not just about selling devices for these big tech companies either, is it? There's a whole interconnected ecosystem of software, cloud services, e-commerce, and entertainment that encourages user loyalty.
That's a crucial point. They've built incredibly strong and sticky relationships with customers. And we've also witnessed a significant shift from downloading music and audio to streaming, which in a way transforms content into more of a commodity. The music industry itself is dominated by a small number of major record companies, and they are forging significant deals with social media platforms broadcast.
And social media is becoming an increasingly significant player in the audio landscape too. With features like online events and voice-based interactions, they're almost becoming competitors to podcasts as radio, particularly due to their live and interactive nature.
That's a very astute observation. The real-time interactive characteristics of social audio platforms present a unique challenge to traditional radio. Now, let's not overlook the car. It remains a crucial listening environment, but it's facing growing competition from all the other audio options accessible through connected car dashboards.
And radio's key strategy in this competition for the car is DAB+, right?
Yep.
Digital Audio Broadcasting Plus.
Exactly. DAB+ is seen as a vital technology for maintaining radio's presence in the connect car. And beyond the car, our homes are also evolving rapidly. Smart speakers are becoming increasingly prevalent, with the potential to eventually replace traditional radio receivers for people.
Okay, so we've delved quite a bit into the digital realm. But what about the more established technologies? What's the continuing role of traditional AM/MW and even shortwave radio in today's world?
This is where things get really interesting, especially when we consider reaching across the digital divide during emergencies and in conflict zones. That's an incredibly important aspect to consider. While digital platforms are crucial for reaching many, the source reminds us that AM/FM radio still holds relevance, catering to a wide range of listeners. Moreover, AM/MW and shortwave technologies have a unique ability to reach audiences in situations where digital infrastructure is limited, unreliable, or even intentionally disrupted. Think about remote community areas affected by natural disasters where power and internet are, or regions experiencing conflict where information access might be controlled.
So while many developed countries might be considering shutting down MW, like we saw with Spain's long-term trend, these older technologies still provide a vital lifeline in specific context.
Precisely. They offer a level of resilience and accessibility that digital platforms currently cannot fully replicate in all circles. Shortwave radio, in particular, with its ability to travel long distance, remains a crucial tool for international broadcasting and for reaching audiences in areas with limited internet access.
It's a reminder that while we focus on the exciting advancements in digital audio, these more traditional forms of radio still play a significant role in ensuring information access and connectivity for diverse populations and during critical time.
Absolutely. And in terms of digital broadcasting, public broadcasters are often leading the way. Norway's FM switch off in favor of DAB+ and Switzerland's planned transition are prime examples of this push towards digital. However, the source does highlight the differing investment strategies in digital broadcasting between Europe, which is largely focused on DAB, and North America.
Right. Now let's circle back to content. We've discussed the need for new formats like podcasts. How are broadcasters approaching this investment?
A significant advantage of the digital environment is the cost effectiveness of distributing innovative or even existing formats to very specific segmented audience. Furthermore, these digital platforms enable much more detailed audience profiling, making on-demand products considerably more attractive to advertisers.
So they can really tailor their content and their advertising. And it seems PSBs are increasingly experimenting with creating original content specifically designed for on-demand platforms, podcasts. Can you give us some examples examples of the types of original podcast content PSBs are starting to create?
Yes, we're seeing a growing number of PSBs producing narrative podcasts that delve into specific stories or historical events, investigative series that explore important social issues in depth, and educational content designed for on-demand learning. These allow for a different kind of engagement than traditional broadcast video. And when it comes to monetizing podcasts, the two primary models are advertising subscription, with advertising currently prevalent.
Yeah, and we're even seeing companies invest in podcasts for marketing purposes, creating really engaging emotional connections with listeners. And the boundaries between different media formats are definitely becoming blurred, aren't they? Netflix even has an audio-only feature, and it feels like everything's trying to become everything else.
That's a perfect illustration of that convergence. And the growth of podcast consumption is undeniable, particularly among younger demographics, and the economic impact of podcast revenues steadily. Interestingly, the source also highlights surprisingly strong growth of audiobooks, especially among young, educated, urban listeners with higher purchase power.
So audiobooks are becoming a significant part of the audio landscape too. And it sounds like different European regions have varying preferences for how they consume audiobooks, with Scandinavia showing a strong inclination towards unlimited subscription models.
Exactly. And we're even seeing major players like Spotify express interest in the audiobook sector, hinting at potential future investments to further enhance their overall audio entertainment offering. And then there's the emergence of social audio platforms. How do they fit into this evolving picture?
They're interesting because they offer a live, interactive, and community-oriented experience, which makes them potential competitors to radio in a way that on-demand podcasts, with their more asynchronous nature, are not.
Precisely. Now, let's pivot to the impact of voice technology and connected devices. It's fundamentally changing how we interact with media, isn't it? Major technology companies are making significant investments in voice.
Absolutely. Sales of smart speakers are on the rise, and the smart home market is projected for continued growth. And cars are becoming increasingly connected, moving beyond simple smartphone integration to incorporating built-in voice assistants and the long-term vision of comprehensive operating system.
And the broader audio sound ecosystem extends beyond just radio and music. It includes other significant players, video games, and platforms such as TikTok. Broadcasters are beginning to consider how they might strategically engage with these spaces well.
Okay. So given all this competition and change, what is the unique position and what are the key challenges for public service media in particular?
Well, the source emphasizes that while PSBs need to be present on these third-party platforms, their primary strategy should be the creation of high-quality, distinctive content. That is what will ultimately attract and retain audience. There's also a potential for PSBs to assume a leading role within the broader audio area, content distribution, technical innovation, or even the development of more effective audience needs.
And for PSBs, it's not solely about the number of listeners, is it? There's also a significant focus on their social impact.
Exactly. Demonstrating their social impact and overall value to the public becoming increasingly for PS justify their and fund. We're also observing PSBs expanding their digital offerings with more automated or archived actions, all while striving to uphold their public service. They are even experimenting with algorithms to create personalized audios, attempting to balance individual preference shared national moment.
But despite this universal service mission, the reach of public radio in Europe has actually seen a decline, underscoring the need to really revitalize its relevance in this fiercely competitive attention economy. And the level of financial support allocated to radio-only PSBs varies considerably across Europe, doesn't it?
It does. And we're seeing increased collaboration between PSBs and the independent production sector, including co-productions with major tech platforms for fiction podcasts created specifically for the on-demand environment. COVID-19 pandemic truly highlighted the essential role of public radio, providing trustworthy information and supporting citizens during a crisis.
It certainly did. So looking ahead, what are the critical areas that public radio needs to focus?
The source identifies several key risk factors: constantly delivering appealing content, ensuring effective across all relevant platforms, gaining a deeper understanding of their audience, reevaluating audience measurement methodology, and securing adequate funding. PSBs need to critically assess which traditional radio products are becoming obsolete and develop content in innovative ways that offer value. Podcasts provide a relatively lower risk environment kind of experiment.
And the question of prominence on connected car dash is a significant one, is whether to compete independently or to rely on those third-party platform integration.
And the current radio audience measurement systems are somewhat fragile in Paris tele, presenting a real opportunity for public service radio to take leadership role, transforming this area into wide collaboration. We're also seeing editorial adaptations, additional linear programming, and the launch of dedicated podcasts by European PS France.
And some are even exploring cross-media experiences, such as in Denmark, where they're integrating radio, TV, and online content. It sounds like there's a significant reevaluation of production processes happening in many PSBs, moving towards more thematic or genre-based structures and encouraging journalists to develop develop multimedia skills.
That's right. And the digitization of radio archives is unlocking new possibilities for content creation and enhanced searchability. PSBs like Radio France and NTO are also developing unified apps for their on-demand content. NPO even adopt dual-track startup app development with a strong feedback and mobile-first.
Audience measurement remains a point of contention, with private radio operators questioning the relevance of traditional methods. And during the pandemic, radio stations really demonstrated their ability to cater to specific audience niches. The relationship between PSBs and third-party platforms is a complex balancing act, navigating user convenience with the PSBs' need to maintain control over their data and content recommendations.
Yes, and we're seeing forward-thinking agreements such as Radio France's collaboration for children's audio content through a dedicated device. And there's a growing need for training and recruitment of staff, well-rounded skills across radio, TV, and web, as well as new areas of expertise like data science. Even financial models are being innovated with dedicated digital budgets and reforms TV license. We're also observing a trend of private radio becoming more commercial national through brand expansion and franchise.
Interesting. Turning our attention to North America, what are some of the key perspectives trends seeing?
Well, the source outlines short-term, medium-term, and long-term risks and opportunities across technology, content, and audio. Key areas include voice commands, connect cars, audiobook, podcasts, and social audio. Radio Canada, for instance, is adopting a pragmatic approach, focusing on their audio platform, which is accessible across various connect devices, rather than developing numerous device-specific apps.
It seems that retaining mobile listeners and forming strategic alliances to integrate radio brands with aggregators in connected car dashboards are also key priorities in North America. And the importance of maintaining that local connection for radio is emphasized, with Quebec Radio serving as a strong example of a thriving local market.
Absolutely. There's a significant degree of overlap in online music consumption across different platforms in North America. We're seeing curated audio content emerging on platforms like Apple Music and a greater level of freedom of expression on some less regulated podcast platforms. Radio Canada sees a considerable opportunity in leveraging its extensive archives, talented personnel for audio.
Right. And the role of the radio host is evolving in North America as well, requiring a much broader skill set that includes digital proficiency, social media engagement, and data literacy. And advertising formats are becoming shorter, with a growing need for faster news updates optimized for smart speaker integration. Editorialization and the inclusion of diverse voices are gaining importance, and some players are pursuing a strategy of niche market dominance for exclusivity.
Yeah, there's a noticeable shift towards valuing the amount of time listeners spend engaging with platforms, rather than solely relying on traditional web tricks. Storytelling is becoming an increasingly popular technique in audio advertising, create emotional connection. Broadcasters are playing a role in supporting emerging artists, and we're seeing the growth of talent age specifically focused on audio contenters. Advertisers are investing more in business intelligence and data analysis, with a strong emphasis on protecting personal consumer data.
And business models are evolving towards a mix of subscription and advertising revenues in the digital audio space, mirroring trends seen in the newspaper industry as it diversifies its revenue streams. There's even potential for news organizations to sell their digital content production technology. The tension between simplifying the user experience through aggregators and maintaining control over data and content distribution remains a key challenge. The exploration of speech synthesizers in audio entertainment is also on the horizon, and radio needs to continue its crucial role in combating misinformation.
And ultimately, traditional players are facing significant competition from major American and Swedish platforms in the audio sound sector, highlighting the critical need for robust distribution strategy.
So, to bring it all together, it's evident that the world of radio is undergoing a dynamic and intricate transformation in this digital age. Multi-platform strategies are not just an option, but a necessity, and the drive for constant innovation is relentless. However, amidst all this change, the fundamental value of local connection and trustworthy information persists. And as we've discussed, the more traditional radio technologies still hold vital roles in specific contexts.
Absolutely. The future of audio is highly likely to be a hybrid one, where traditional and digital formats exist, each catering to different needs and preferences, and where the enduring importance of technologies like shortwave and AMMW in certain situations cannot be overlooked.
And on that note, here's a final thought for you to ponder. Given the rapid advancements in audio technology and the shifting listening habit, what unexpected forms might radio and audio storytelling take in the next decade? And considering the continued importance of reaching across the digital divide and providing information during emergencies, what innovative ways might traditional and digital audio platforms collaborate to serve these crucial needs? Thanks for taking the deep dive with us.